People always ask, why is it that rebuke is rare, but at the same time the Torah says that it's necessary? Because in the prophet Jeremiah says, and also in Masechet Chagigah, page 14a, the Bet HaMikdash was not destroyed. Hashem didn't decide to destroy the Bet HaMikdash until he officially saw that there's no more people to actually rebuke anyone. No one was willing to rebuke anyone anymore. He says now, since there's no one to rebuke anyone anymore, there's no way anyone's going to do tshuva. And if no one's going to do tshuva, might as well destroy it. It's just going to get worse from here. The Rambam Ilchot Tshuva talks about rebuke, but there's actually even more in the Ilchot Deot. It gives you the laws of rebuking. But one of the main things that it talks about is that someone that does not rebuke, someone who doesn't rebuke, person that is, let's say, for example, violating a rabbinical mitzvah because he thinks he's not going to listen, that's one thing. But that does not relieve him from the mitzvah of rebuking. Many people think that if someone is not going to listen, then you're absolved. You don't need to rebuke him. That's only on rabbinical mitzvot. It's only on rabbinical mitzvot, and it's only on things that are not from the Torah, not deoraita. If someone is violating Shabbat, you have to rebuke him, regardless of whether they listen to or not. To such an extent that the Rambam says in chapter 6 of Ilchot Deot, he lists it, and also in Ilchot Tshuva 4.1, he talks about how the failure to rebuke is one of the 4 sins that's so severe that Hashem will take away this person's ability to do tshuva. Meaning that if someone refuses to rebuke other people, Hashem is going to put him in a situation where he himself can't do tshuva. He's not going to have siyata dishmaya. Obviously everyone can do tshuva, but he's going to remove his siyata dishmaya. So when do we have to rebuke? We have to rebuke anything that's any mitzvah that's deoraita. If you see somebody driving on Shabbat, you have to rebuke him. He says, when it comes down to a biblical sin, when it's a biblical sin, initially you have to try to rebuke them privately, without humiliating them. If it's a biblical sin, if it's Shabbat, if it's Eshet Ish, she's with a woman that's not allowed to be with, or anything like that. But if it's initially private, but if continues to sin after you've rebuked him, he continues to drive on Shabbat, he continues to violate the Torah, not just a rabbinical sin that like Netilat Yadayim, he continues to violate Torah, you have 100% permission from the Torah to embarrass him in public. Here he says he may be put to shame. This is actually what it says in the halajá here. He may be put to shame in public, and his sin may be publicized, meaning you can actually put a bulletin board in the middle of the highway, Joe drives on Shabbat. Exactly. Why? Because they're violating the Torah. Violate Torah, you have to. They're not considered someone that you're not allowed to embarrass. They're beneath that. They're not following the law, so therefore they actually get abused by the law. He may be subjected to abuse, to scorn, and curses until he repents, as was the practice of all the prophets of Israel. This is actually what the prophets used to do. So this is actually part of the reason why the prophets were killed. But nonetheless, when someone does a biblical sin, you actually are allowed to embarrass them. Now, of course, Shulchan Aruch also talks about of how you should do everything you possibly can to not embarrass them. We're not here to start throwing rocks at people, to embarrass them. You have to do things in a nice way, bring them a lecture, send them a lecture, give them a CD, talk to them, convince them. You definitely get, invite them for Shabbat, you get more bees with honey than you do with something else. But the point being is that if someone continues to talk in shul, ruining everybody else's tefillah, you're allowed to embarrass them in public. This is, again, not an open ticket to embarrassing people in public, but this is to make sure that we all understand where is the line. Where is this line of not being allowed to embarrass people in public? Can they just desecrate Hashem's name? We don't have to say anything. We have to be quiet. Like people said, no, listen, this attack against Wick, this rabbi that said homosexuality is okay and is great. It's Chilul Hashem. It's embarrassing in public. No, it's not. You actually have to do it. Why? Because you went against the Torah. And Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin says in a place that is Chilul Hashem, there's no consideration for kavod, no consideration for honor or anything like that. It's off limits. So this is the last of it, and that's one of the most important things that you need to understand. One story I tell you from Tana Devei Eliyahu. Hashem came to Yeshua, after Moshe Rabbeinu. He said, why do you use such a language to frighten my people? Tell all my people, Hashem's not going to forgive you. Hashem's going to punish you. There's Gehenom. There's this. Why? Why do you say I'm not forgiving? Didn't I forgive them after they complained about me 10 times in the desert? Didn't I forgive them after the idol worship? Didn't I forgive them after they complained about the man? Didn't I forgive them after all these things? Didn't I forgive them? He's saying Lashon Hara about me. He's asking Yeshua. He's saying Lashon Hara about me. Yeshua says, I only did it to scare them, so they listen to what you say. And Hashem Yitbarach, Eliyahu Navi writes this. Eliyahu Navi is Tana Devei Eliyahu. Eliyahu Navi writes this, he says, Hashem Yitbarach kissed his hand, kissed Yeshua's hands and his forehead, thanking him. Hashem, I don't know what that means, he kissed his hand. All I know is Hashem doesn't kiss my hand. So, meaning that Hashem's strategy of rebuke, same thing. This is not new. This is not an innovation. This is the way it's always been until the last few hundred years. But we need to know what Gehenom is. We need to know what Olam HaBa is. We need to know what losing Olam HaBa is. Because we need to know the price in order to know what's on the line. Once we know what's on the line, it doesn't matter what the details are of how much suffering is, how much suffering. You just need to know there's a bad place, there's a good place. Get to the good place, because the bad place you don't want to be in. You don't need to know where you're hanging from and how you're hanging. You just need to know there's a hanging. Hashem, we all do tshuva, we all click closer to Hashem Yitbarach. We all actually do what Hashem wants, the way He wants it, not start creating rules. And Hashem, do tshuva.